I wanted the challenge, and I think it was to prove to myself that I could do it, that I'm not gonna take the easy way out. And I think
Okay.
I also, if I'm being totally honest, I also want to show everyone else in that room what I could do. How aware are they of the problem? And some people aren't really aware of what the problem is. They just know that they're not happy. The first thing I think I would do is start building an audience, whether that's through the podcast or through social media. But I think I would start building an audience of followers and then start testing an offer and seeing what people are interested in. Welcome back to another episode of Success in Mind. Today, we are doing something a little bit different on the show. I am joined once again by Yahel Demeter, brand strategist and business consultant. Except we're doing something different. We are flipping the mics around, and this time, Yahel is here to interview me on the podcast. So stay tuned for a very interesting conversation, if I do say so myself. This was a lot of fun to do, and you're going to hear about why we're doing this as well during the episode. So stay tuned. Welcome to Success in Mind, the podcast for driven entrepreneurs ready to rewire their thinking to create success on their terms. I'm Teri Holland, and I will help you to do just that through high performance coaching and hypnotherapy. I'm here to help you overcome fear, ditch the self-doubt, and tap into unstoppable clarity. If you're ready to align your mindset with your goals, you are in the right place. Let's get your success locked in.
Terry, so I want to jump in quickly to the first question. And you know me, I'm just like you, zero fluff and zero boundaries. So the first question that I want to ask you is, why did you say yes for this interview? Because when I asked you if you want me to interview you, you immediately said yes, and then you thought about it. Why?
It's something that I've wanted to do for a while. I've always wanted to have someone come on, and I thought it would probably be a client coming on and asking me questions, but just never took the next step to doing it or didn't have the right person who I thought would do it. And so when you came up with this idea, it was something that I've been wanting to do, and who better to do it with than with you?
Why? What makes me the right person to do that?
Well, we've worked together. I was your client for a while, and you know my business. You know my business very well, and you've gotten to know me well. So I think you know what to ask. I think you'd ask really insightful questions.
So that's actually what I just about to say, because it's true. You were my client. I was your branding strategist, and I know your business. I know what you do. And over time, I think after we finished working together, we became friends and we became very close. And we do so many stuff. I mean, in addition to what we did together on your business, and I've seen the depth, I've seen the drive, I've seen your honesty, and I felt that there are so many sides of you that people don't see in your podcast. Okay, and I wanted to show them. Today's talk, it won't be about your business. It won't be about your branding strategy. It will be about you. Maybe we'll
Okay.
touch your business here and there, and we touch about success, by the way. We talk about success, about your business, about your relationship with your clients, because I feel that you don't talk about it because it may come across too cheesy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
I will ask you about it today. And you have some difficult questions here. And if you just don't want me to ask to continue with a line of thought, just tell me and I will continue to the next question. You have quite a few questions here.
Wow.
So let's start. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, I'm nervous now.
Why?
I don't know. Those are a lot of
Is it
questions.
me? Nah.
No.
Okay, first question is, what's a part of you that most people don't get to see, but you wish they did?
Well, you're tough one right off the bat. I
Mm-hmm.
don't
I told
know.
you, zero fluff. Zero
I
fluff.
don't know. What's a part of me that people don't see that I wish they did? I think I'm pretty open. I would say the thing that comes to mind is, I guess, my silly, goofy side. I don't know that I show that on this podcast very much, or if I've ever shown that. I think I show that, though, to people in my life. And the reason I say this, the reason I picked this part of my life is when we were doing the brand strategy, And you'll remember there was an exercise you had me do of sending out a survey asking people to rank different values.
I remember that.
And fun was the lowest ranked one, but that one is so important to me, but people
And you
don't
are
see
fun.
that. And one of my clients said to me after, she said, I didn't even know how to score that one because I see you as my coach and we have a serious relationship and I always see this side of you. I never think that you have a fun side or a funny side. And that hurt because that's so important to me. And I thought, "Oh, she never sees that side of me." So, yeah, that would be the side. That'd be the part of me.
And the next question in regarding to that is, what part of yourself would you leave behind to get to where you are today? Because you made an amazing journey, right? I mean,
Yeah.
your coaching career is impressive, and most people know who you are. I mean, going to events with you is just walking in with a celebrity. So, what part? I'm not joking. What part of yourself did you have to leave behind to get to where you are today?
Oh, the shy part of me, the
How did it
mouse, we
look
call it
like?
the mouse. So that was, I was such a shy kid growing up. I was so quiet and so nervous all the time. And that's the part I had to let go of because I would go to networking events. Like you see me now at networking events, and I'm very comfortable being there and very
Yeah,
comfortable talking to people. But if you saw me 10 plus years ago at a networking event, I would be hiding in the back of the room on my phone, pretending to be super busy so that people wouldn't talk to me. I would be having
it's almost
anxiety.
polar opposite. It's almost polar
Yeah.
opposite to the Terry I know today.
Yeah. You wouldn't even see me there. I was very good at making myself invisible. You wouldn't even know I was there. And I'd be texting my husband, telling him how much I hated being there. And he'd be messaging back saying, just talk to one person, then you can leave. Then you've done at least something that you went for. I hated networking. So that's what I
You
had to
know, you
leave
know that
behind.
sometimes I see you in networking events, and I tell them, you need to be more like Terry. So it's funny that you say that. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm honored that you say that.
So as you see, you learn about me here as much as I learn about you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you consider that as a turning point in your career? And if not, so what would be a turning point in
I
your
would say
career?
that was one turning point for sure. And it was when I learned NLP, that's where I learned how to overcome all of that, was through the training of NLP. That's where I found my confidence. That's where my whole personality shifted through learning that and through the NLP trainings. And I went from being a very high introvert to being, well, for a while, like a high extrovert. And now I feel like I've kind of
Hmm.
balanced more towards the middle, but still on the extrovert side of the scale. That was a big turning point.
I remember that you told me that you told me about an assignment in your NLP training. You know which story I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. So while I was doing my NLP training, and I trained at the Tad James company down in Las Vegas, and I had this perfectionism thing in me where I needed to do everything at 100%. And if it wasn't 100%, it was not good enough. And so when I did my practitioner level exam, I got 95%. And I was so miserable. For those of you listening, you might be thinking, well, 95 is really good. But to me, it wasn't good enough. That was never good enough in my life. And it felt like a failure. And then I went back the following summer and I spent 8 to 9 weeks there doing my master practitioner training, my trainer's training, and then my hypnosis trainer's training. And for the NLP trainer's training exam, it's a full day exam, the written exam. It's a full day thing. And it's not open book. For master prac, for practitioner, it was open book. For this, it was not open book. But I'm going to go back. I missed a step here. So for the master practitioner exam, open book exam, and I wanted 100% this time. And I was working with a coach who had gone through this training and he had gotten 98% on his test. What they would do is they'd mark the test and they'd write in the right answers. So he gave me his test with the right answers written in for the ones he got wrong and said, you can use my exam as your open book guide. And so I knew I had 100% on that test because I knew every answer was correct. And I handed it in and it came back to me 95%. And this was right before, so we got the test back and then we had a 3-day break and then we started in trainers training.
Mhm.
And I was ready to quit. I was ready to go home, cancel the rest of the training, and just leave. And I messaged my coach and I said, how did I only get 95% again? I know that was 100%. I knew it was. I checked everything over and over. I double checked his answers to make sure they would still be correct today. Everything. And I was ready to leave. And I told him that. And he said, Teri, let's get on a phone call. So as we were
Mhm.
talking, he said, Teri, you realize where you're training, right? Do you think that they don't know that you're a perfectionist? Do you think that they don't know that you need to get 100%? They're not going to give you 100% because they're going to see what you can do and they're going to challenge you. And this is the learning that you personally need to get is to learn to let go of that. And so he convinced me to stay in the training, but I still had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. And so for the trainer's training written exam, it's a full day exam. You have, I think, up to 6 hours to write it. And it's university style. So you're in a room all together writing, no books, no phones. It's heavily monitored. If you go to the washroom, a training assistant accompanies you to make sure you can't cheat. And we would hand in each section of the test one at a time so they could start marking. So I sat down to write my test. And I was writing furiously. The answers were coming so fast. I was so prepared for this exam. And it was all coming to me. And I handed in that test. I wrote it in just under 2 hours. I was the first one done. When I handed in my final section, Stefan, our trainer, was there and he said, "You're done already?" And he looked at the clock and I said, "Yep, I'm done." He said, "Did you get 100%?" And I said, "Yes, I got 100%." And he said, "You're sure?" And I said, "I'm sure." And I walked out, but then I had all these
Almost
doubts.
torture.
It was, yeah, and I walked out, and the next student didn't finish for, I think, 45 minutes after me, was the second person, and when he came out and saw me sitting out there, he said, "Oh, did you skip some stuff too?" And I said, "No, I wrote the whole test." And he said, "Oh, I had to skip some parts. I didn't know the answers. I skipped a lot of it." And then it was another hour before the next one finished, and most people took at least 4 hours to write this exam. So I didn't know for the rest of, for the next few days, I didn't know what I got on that test. And the way we would find out is on what they call demo day, where you have to demonstrate an exercise, an NLP technique in front of your group. So we were divided into 3 groups for this. And there'd be the trainer. So my trainer in the room was Adriana James, Tad James's wife, and she had an assistant with her. The way it would work is that each student would be called up. You wouldn't know what you were demonstrating until you were called up, and then she would say, "You're going to demonstrate this pattern." And you'd have to do it on the spot, no notes, no books, nothing. And this was a pass or a fail. If you failed it, you were done. You don't get certified. If you pass, um, you're good. This was the final step to getting certified. So a lot of pressure in that room. So we had to do 2 presentations as well. If you didn't get 100% on the test, they would give you a little bit of an easy way out. They would ask you to demonstrate one of your 2 topics that you knew very well, because you should be able to pass it then.
Yeah.
But they said if you got 100% on the test, you would not be demonstrating either of your topics. They would want to challenge you more and you would get a different topic. They would throw something at you. So we're going through the day and I'm near the bottom of the list of the order. In fact, I think I was the last one to go. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm noticing, okay, eye patterns was one of my topics. Someone else had demonstrated it, so I wasn't going to get eye patterns. But no one had done values elicitation hierarchy, which was my other topic. So when we get to me and I'm thinking, okay, no one's done values yet. She's going to ask me to do values. And something weird, I knew something weird was happening because as I was called up, Steph and Shay, who are 2 of the other trainers for the company, they started coming in. Other training assistants started showing up. And then Tad James himself walked into the room and they're all peeking around corners and they're all suddenly crowding into this room where I felt like something is about to happen here. And I don't know what's happening, but something is happening. And then Adriana said to me, she said, "Teri, you got 100% on your test." And she said, "But we're out of topics other than values, elicitation, and hierarchy, which you presented on. We know you would get 100% on that again today. We know you know it very well. So you could demonstrate that because there's nothing else that's on the list for demonstrations. She said, however, Tad wants to see what you can really do because she said your test was so perfect, there wasn't a flaw in it. It couldn't have been better. So now we want to see what you can really do. So if you're up for a challenge, instead of doing values, elicitation, and hierarchy, you can do the fast phobia model, which is an old NLP technique. It's never demonstrated in trainings. So I had never seen it done. And she had said to me, you've never seen this. It's not on any of your demo recordings that we've sent you for studying. You've only ever looked at it in theory. But if you're up for the challenge, you can do it. But if you fail, and you won't be certified. So are you going to do the one that you know and you know you'll get a pass
So,
on? Are
so
you
you had an option. You had an option to go back to what you knew, or to challenge yourself and take the risk of failure.
Yes. Yeah. And I said,
Okay.
I think I'm going to do fast phobia model. And she said, are you sure? And I said, I'm sure. And I did
Why?
it
How come you were so sure? I mean, where
because
did you get the confidence from?
the confidence came through the whole training. Like that training completely rewired my thinking and my being. So I knew I had studied, I knew the manual, I knew the scripts, even that script, even though I never thought I'd be called on to demonstrate it, I knew it, I still knew it. And I wanted that challenge. Like I wanted to push
Because
myself.
but most people, Terry, most people are very goal oriented. Most people
Yeah,
just, okay, I have a goal to finish this test. I have a goal to finish this course. I mean, to finish that training. Why do I need to take unnecessary challenges? I mean, why do I need to climb the mountain just because it's there? I mean, I can go around it.
true. I mean, I will say on a side note, I am a Capricorn. I'm the mountain goat. So if there's a mountain, it's in me that I'm
Okay.
going to climb the mountain. But I don't know. I wanted the challenge. And I think it was to prove to myself that I could do it, that I'm not going to take the easy way out. And I
Okay.
think I also, if I'm being totally honest, I also wanted to show everyone else in that room what I could do. And I wanted
Okay.
Tad James to see what I could do because I respected him. He was my mentor. And I really, since it was the way she proposed it, was that Tad wants to see what you can do. So I wanted to show him what I could do.
Why do you think that he wanted to see it? Because he obviously wanted to see it, but why? Why do you think he wanted that?
I think because it had never been done in a training before. They said they had never done this. They'd never asked someone to do the fast phobia model as a demonstration. And so that felt kind of special to me that he believes in me that much. He believes I can do this. So I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you did it.
I did it.
How was it?
I got 100%. It was flawless. I executed it flawlessly.
And what did you learn about, I don't know, the general term of success from it? I mean, what is a key takeaway from that particular experience that you use today
Take risks.
in what you do?
To take more risks. Until that point in my life, I didn't take risks ever. I always took the safe road, much to my detriment.
And is
And
this something that you are trying to teach your clients to take risks?
not in the way that I do, because I still want to protect my clients to a degree.
That's exactly why I'm asking,
But
because
I encourage them to take very calculated risks and what they can handle. So I'm the kind of person, I walked out on a job without anything to fall back on and I started a business. I would never tell my clients to do that. I tell my clients, let's build this on the side until you're able to replace your income and you're ready to step into it full time. But for me, I'm the person who walked out on the job and started. I know now that I can handle a great degree of risk, but with my clients, it depends on them and how much risk can they handle. Everyone's different. Yeah.
sure. And if I would ask you to to draw a line between risks and success, how would that line be? How would it look like?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to answer. I don't I don't know if I can describe how it would
Give me
look
the
like.
waypoints, okay? Give me the waypoints that connect risks and success.
Gosh, you're tough. I don't know. I think to me it's like the greater the risk, the greater chance like the greater the success will be, but so will the failure. So
Okay.
in my mind, to the degree that you're willing to risk something, you will get such a greater reward to that same degree. But if you fail, it's going to be that much harder. That's how I see it.
I tend to agree with that. But do you feel, not but do you feel that people who take risks are often more successful, or people who go on the safe path are
People who
more
take risks
successful?
are more successful.
Wouldn't you say that the way to avoid, let's say, market turbulences is the safe route? I mean,
I just think when you take a big gamble on yourself, you can gain so much more. You can lose a lot too. You can have
I
a
agree
huge
with you, by the way. I agree with
yeah.
you. Okay. It's not that I disagree with you, but I'm trying to think what would your listeners think. Okay. When they hear us saying that you need to take risks in order to be successful.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me say this. I don't think you have to take risks, not big risks to be successful. I don't think you have to. But what is your definition of success?
That's
So,
the
for
next question to
example,
you. That's the
like
next question, by the way.
I could compare to my sister, who I would say has taken a very safe route in life. She went to university, she got the degree, she's had very long term employment at different companies. She successfully climbs the corporate ladder. She gets a great paycheck. She gets lots of good benefits. She has a great lifestyle. She's happy with her life. So I would say she's successful, but would I say that she takes risks? No, she's not a risk taker. So you can be successful without the risks, but I think when we're looking at entrepreneurship, just the act of starting a business is a risk.
Yeah, what was the last risk that you took? The last one.
Letting you
Even this,
interview me on this podcast.
that's not a risk there. You can edit everything.
True, true. I was still in control. You know what? I would say that it's our 5 Peak Summit. That we have
Okay.
gone big on it. We've decided to go big,
Yeah.
and that's a risk. It's going very well, but that was a risk to say we're gonna book this very big, beautiful venue, and we're just gonna trust that the people are going to buy tickets and show up. That would be the most recent risk I've taken.
Okay. It was a risk. I agree with you because we went big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a huge question mark though. Also for me, by the way. But if you go back to the success part, okay? You said something, and that was my next question. What does success mean to you? What is success? And try to avoid the
Sugary answers.
of success. Okay, I mean, don't rehash what everyone else says about success. Just what is success?
Yeah. So, I think success is, are you doing what you said you wanna do? Are you accomplishing your goals? Are you living life the way you want to live it? Do you have the money you want, the relationships you want, the health that you want? If you look at all factors of your life, is it where you want them to be, or are you on the way to achieving it? That to me is success. Is that the sugary
What?
answer? Did I just give you the
No,
sugar?
actually, no, actually. By the way, you need to tell the audience what does sugar mean. But yeah, it was a good answer. But I can't continue without asking you, what if someone doesn't know what success mean for them?
Yeah, then
I
you
mean, most people don't know. They
true,
don't know
that's
the,
true.
the the answers to the question that you just asked. Maybe you do, but
Yeah.
most people don't.
So then I would say that you need to start with getting clear on what you want. And I know a lot of people don't know what they want. So when I sit down with a client and I'll say, what do you want? What is it you want? What do you want for your business? What do you want for your life? And they'll start listing things off, but it'll sound like this. I don't want to feel stressed every month. I don't want to worry about where my next paycheck is coming from. I don't want to ride this up and down income roller coaster of entrepreneurship. I don't want to fight with my spouse all the time. I don't want to get frustrated and yell at my kids anymore. I don't want to feel tired at the end of the day. I don't want, don't want. And I'll say that's all really great, but that's what you don't want. The question is,
But
what
what
do
is it
you?
that you want? Exactly.
So if you didn't have these things, if we take the don't wants out of the way, then what would life look like instead? And then they start thinking about, well, I would own my own house. I would be able to buy a new car. I would take vacations with my family every year. And then they start to form this picture of, okay, what do they want? What would life look like? And the dollar amount, how much money they want in the bank, how much flexibility they want with their time. When they start to get clear on that, that starts to shape what success would look like. Now we have something to aim for.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. You know what they say about, I can't remember who said it, but what they say about focus, that it's not what you are, it's not more what you are not, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important to distinguish between this. But I want to ask you something else about success. And that's a question that actually interests me when it comes to success. What's a belief about success that you think is hurting people more than it's helping?
A belief about success that's hurting more than it's helping.
Yeah,
I think it's how we measure success. I think that people believe that it has to be attached to a dollar value. And
such a good point.
and so a lot of people think, well, if I'm not a billionaire, I'm
If I
not
can't measure it,
yeah,
right?
if I can't measure it. But how do you feel day to day? What are your relationships like? At the end of the day, do you feel like you did good work that day? Do you feel like you have contributed in some way to your family, to society, to your clients? We can't measure that in dollars. We can't make a graph and measure what kind of impact you're having. So I think that that's the false belief, is that success has to be something measurable, like money, investments, things that you own, and that isn't it. I don't
Do
think
you think
that's
that success is a kind of a mindset that you need to shift your
yeah,
mindset towards this?
yeah. Absolutely. I think that, you know, if you want to feel successful, you can do it right now. If you think of a specific time where you succeeded at something, that could be learning how to tie your shoes. In that moment that you figured it out, that's a success. It could be a time when you competed in a sport and you won or your team won. It could
Hmm.
be that you passed an exam that you struggled to study with, whatever it is. But if you can think of that time when you succeeded at something and put yourself back into that moment, you'll feel successful. You'll feel it right now. So anyone can feel successful right now and put themselves into that state of mind.
Okay. And do you speaking of success and performance, right? Because you're a high performance coach. Do you think that all performance issues are mindset issues, or are there are there limits to what mindset can change?
I think the majority of them are mindset issues. I
Can you
think
give us examples to the one who don't?
the ones that aren't mindset,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So I would say that that comes down to what is the culture of the company. So you could have someone with a really positive, healthy mindset, and if you put them in a terrible culture, over time, that negative, toxic work culture is going to
Uh-huh.
override their mindset and affect them. So we need to look at what is the culture, what's the environment that the person's in. And that goes for family situations as well. That goes for any environment you can find yourself in. What is the environment telling us? So that's one thing. Another thing that can limit performance is the right skill set, having the skills, having an aptitude for something, that's going to affect performance as well. So if you take a person and you put them in a role that they are not going to thrive in, then it doesn't matter what their mindset is. That's not the right role for them.
Yeah,
And I,
yeah.
I see this a lot with, when I've worked with teams in different organizations, is they'll take someone, for example, the receptionist. And let's say they have the most amazing receptionist and she's so great, she's so friendly. And every time people come into this business, they love interacting with her and they're always saying how great she is. And so
Uh-huh.
then the company says, well, we need to promote her into a different, like, she's doing such a great job. Let's make her the office manager now. Well, now she's working at a desk somewhere in the back of the office.
Uh-huh.
and she's doing admin work all day and she's not interacting with people, she's not going to thrive in that role. So her performance is going to be affected because what
Okay.
made her great at what she did was she was the right person in the right role. And so this happens a lot where you take someone who's really good at doing something and then they put them into another role that they're not going to succeed in because that's not their personality fit. That's not the right thing for them to do. Instead, they'd be better off just paying her more money to keep her happy doing what she's good at, which is interacting with people.
Okay. Okay. That's sounds right. I mean, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
And now I want to shift the conversation, Terry. Don't.
What?
To talk about your business.
Okay.
Okay, about what you do, because I feel that there are so many layers to what you do, and most people they know the top ones, right? I mean, I know how deep you go with your clients, and I want to show it. Okay,
Okay.
so I think that when people approach you, when people hire you, right, they look forward for clarity. Most of the people, right? But is there something that you think is more important than clarity?
More important? I don't know that I would say more important because it's clarity is important.
Valuable.
Confidence.
Okay. What do you mean by that? Why confidence is more important than because I think, okay, and maybe some of your listeners will think the same, that confidence comes after you have clarity. So why do you think that it's the other way around?
So I don't know that's necessarily the other way around, but I do think that the more confident you are in yourself, the easier it is to get clarity.
And how do you know that somebody is confident? What are the signs for confidence?
What are the signs? So it's in how a person talks, their communication, how they move, their energy. You can see it. You walk into a room or let's say you're at an event and you observe people for a while, you can quickly tell who's confident and who's not based on their posture, how they move, how they interact, how they talk with people. It's that person who walks into a room and everyone turns and looks and they don't know why, but it's that energy that that person's giving off. It's that charisma that comes with confidence.
Charisma, is it something that I can work on? I mean, is it something that I can change, or is it something that I born with?
No, it's a skill. A lot of people think that confidence is something you're just born with. People are just confident or they're not. That's
That's
what
why
I
I'm
used to
asking.
think. Yeah, I used to think that. I was this shy little mouse, remember when I was a little girl. I had no confidence in myself. And I had to learn it, and that's why I know that it's a skill. I had to learn how to be confident. I don't think that many people are born confident. I think that most of us have to learn it.
Okay, so you understand what you're saying. So you're talking about the transformation part of it, right? I mean that when people are ready for transformation, they come to you, and then you see whether they have confidence, whether they want clarity. Where is your starting point, right? I mean,
Yeah,
and what if people are not ready? What if people don't know what they don't know? What if people don't know that they need more confidence? What if people don't know what clarity they want? Okay, how do you know that somebody is actually ready for transformation? Because what you do transforms people, right?
right.
From
Yeah,
being one person to be another person, to be a better person, right?
yeah.
A better business owner, a better father, mother, I don't know what, right? A better person. But how do you, as a coach, because I know that you don't take any client, how do you, as a coach, know that that person is ready for transformation? What are the questions that you ask yourself? Give us examples if you want and can. I don't even know your answers, by the way. So give us a few questions that you ask yourself after the first meeting with that person,
Yeah.
that you know whether they're ready for transformation or not.
So it actually starts before the first meeting. It starts with, did they fill out the intake form? So I have an intake form that when someone wants to schedule a discovery call with me, they fill out an intake form. Person who's not ready for any sort of change doesn't fill out the form. It's an easy form to fill out. basic contact information, couple questions about what would you want to focus on in coaching. I get them to rate different areas of their life in terms of how satisfied they are and then overall how committed they are to changing. So very easy to fill out. It takes less than 5 minutes. Someone who's
But
ready
it,
for
but
transformation.
it's an online form, Terry. People can
Yeah,
just write whatever they want. I
sure, they
mean,
can.
I can tell you that I'm ready for transformation, but I don't. But I'm not.
Yeah, but this is the first step. This isn't the only screening I do. This is the first one. So
Okay.
a person who's not ready to change will not fill out the form. And if they don't fill out the form, I cancel the discovery call because there's no point in going forward. A person who's ready to change will fill out the form. So that's my first screening tactic. It's in NLP, we call it an upfront task. I task them with fill in this form. They either do it or they don't. If they don't do it, they're not going to be a client. If they do it, we're off to a good start. So then it's when we get into the conversation, I look for things like their awareness level. How aware are they of the problem? And some people aren't really aware of what the problem is. They just know that they're not happy. They know that things aren't working. What they're doing right now is no longer working for them, but they might not necessarily know what the problem is. That's fine. That's my job. I'll help them figure out what the actual problem is.
That's exactly what I'm about to say. It's not. It's yours. It's not theirs.
Exactly. So I'll get to that part. I get to the root of the issue. But
Okay.
I want to know, what is their level of awareness? So do they know there's a problem, but they don't know what it is? Or have they done a lot of sort of introspection and they have a clear idea of it? That gives me some kind of framework to work with. But that's not going to tell me if we're working together or not. That just tells me where we're starting. But then a couple things I'll ask them. One question I always ask, and this I learned from Tad James, is I ask them, are you willing to do whatever it takes to succeed? And, and in the frame of what's legal and what's within
But how
moral
people
bounds.
can answer this question is almost unfair to ask that question. I think
How? How is it unfair? It's a yes or a
because
no. Are you willing to do whatever it takes or not?
people don't know whatever it takes. I mean, people don't know
Right.
what it takes. So how
Right.
can they answer that? And how you can determine whether they are ready for transformation based on that?
Easily. Because a person who says to me, well, I don't know, Terry, that really depends, they're not ready for a transformation.
I see. I see.
But the
If you will
person who
try to
says,
question or to understand what it really takes in
yeah,
advance, they're not
yeah,
ready for
they're
transformation.
not ready for it. But the person who says yes without knowing what it's going to take, without knowing the hard work that's ahead of them, without knowing what that means, but they say yes, and if they're congruent about it, then that's a person who's ready to change.
So in other words, you're saying that if somebody is pushed with the back against the wall, they will always say yes. And if people are not with the back against the wall, they're not 100% ready for change.
Not necessarily. So change is motivated by different factors. So some people, it's because things have gotten so bad that they cannot exist in the state they're in anymore. So that person has their back up against a wall. They will do anything they have to get off the position they're in because it's too painful and they cannot continue doing that anymore. That person is going to be ready for change. But sometimes people, they're not there yet. They're in what we call the gray zone where things are not bad. They're not great, but they're not bad. It's comfortable. So their back's not up against the wall, but they still want more than what they have in life. And that person could still be ready for change without being in the same dire circumstances as the person whose life is falling apart or they're completely miserable.
And what type of clients do you prefer? Which you know what? I'll rephrase the question. It's not what type of clients you prefer, but what type of client is easier for you to work with? Those in the gray area or with the back against the walls, against the wall?
I think it depends on more factors than just that of what makes them easier. I would say to get started, the one with their back up against the wall, they're easy to start with because they're highly motivated. When pain is the motivator, the higher the pain, the higher the motivation, and they will start out very strong. But the
Uh-huh.
problem with that client comes later down the road because as the
Yeah.
pain diminishes, the motivation diminishes. So it's harder to keep that client focused on what they want and moving forward. So it really depends. Like there's pros and cons on either side. They'll start a lot stronger. And I can give you a good example of this. So back before I was coaching, when I was a personal trainer, I would have clients who would come to me and they would say, My doctor has told me that I have to make these lifestyle changes or I'm going to die young. My doctor has predicted I'll have a heart attack within the next 5 years if I don't change something dramatically. Or, in one case, I had a man come to me who said, I've already had 3 heart attacks. I don't think I'll survive a fourth. I need to make a change. And when those clients would come to me, I would think, wow, this person is so motivated. They're going to do their life's on the line. They're going to do everything possible to turn their health around. And they would lose, let's say, about 20 pounds, and they'd start feeling better, and their blood pressure was coming down, and their blood sugars are stabilizing. And as they started to feel better, as the pain's diminishing, so would their motivation. And then suddenly they'd start missing some workouts here or there. They would start, once a week, maybe having a burger and fries, and then maybe that was twice a week. And then soon they would just slip into old habits and they would disappear. And they'd come back to me months later in the same state that I started with them in. And they'd say, wow, now I really need to make a change. I'm ready. I'm ready this time. And we'd play this cycle. But then sometimes I would have someone come to me and they would say, Teri, I am getting married next summer and I know how I want to look on my wedding day and I know how I want to look in those photos and I will do whatever it takes to get there. I am ready. You know, that person would be motivated. They would stay motivated. They'd reach their goal. They'd keep going. And I always thought it was so backwards. I was like, the person whose life is on the line loses their motivation so quickly, but yet the person who just wants to look good in a dress on one day stays motivated the whole way. The difference was their focus. So the person who's afraid that they're going to die is focused on what they don't want. The person who knows what they want and is focused towards what they want, that is a sustainable motivation because it's not driven by the pain. It's not driven by, I need to get out of this pain. It's driven by focusing forward on what they want. And that's the biggest difference.
Or maybe it is driven by external and internal motivations, right? I mean, looking good is 100% external.
Is it?
I
You
think
think
so.
so? I don't think
Yeah.
so.
And people who hire a coach, don't you think?
Well, yeah, it might be external. I can see how it seems external motivation, but do you think that anyone outside of them really cares if they lose weight for their wedding?
No,
No, they care
but
how they want to look.
they think people actually care. People
Yeah, no one
think
cares. No one cares
it's how they feel, right?
how they feel. And whereas the person whose doctor is telling them they have to do it, that's external motivation. The doctor's saying you have to make this change, but they internally aren't ready to do it.
Exactly, but that should be internal. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
the other way around.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is the biggest transformation you have ever witnessed with the client? The
Well,
biggest thing.
there's been so many. I've seen
Pick one.
clients. Well, one that comes to mind immediately was a realtor I worked with who kept hitting the same commission level every year, was making the same amount of money, he felt like there was a ceiling there, that he could not go past that. No matter what he did, he just couldn't break through that ceiling. And we did a breakthrough session, which is a 1 or 2 day, very intensive full days of coaching. And 3 weeks later, he got his biggest commission ever, that he was not expecting this property to sell the way it did. And he became a millionaire. And his income increased so much just after 3 weeks. That was an incredible transformation. And it was changing his belief system of what he believed about money, what he believed about his worth, and what he believed about what he could do. So that was one that was very rapid and very powerful transformation.
You know that I can give you my angle on it because sometimes when people hire me as their business strategist, the first question that I ask myself is how many times they lived the same year again and again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes people just live the same year again and again, the same thing again and again for 20 years. People own a business for 20 years and nothing changes. Not even the income, by the way.
Yeah.
Nothing changes.
Yeah. That's rough. Yeah.
100%. Terry, if I gave you 5 minutes to help someone to change, to shift their life, okay, what would be the first thing that you'll try to unlock. The first thing that you will try to reach.
In 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it depends on the person. It's so
Hmm.
personalized.
Take me as an example.
There's so much to change there. Where do we okay. Where do we start? I feel like I need a problem. Like there needs to be a problem, and then I know where to start from.
I want to be less perfectionist.
Okay.
I
How is
I
that a
think that
problem?
being perfectionist, it holds me back in so many areas in my life.
How
So many
specifically?
areas.
How specifically does it hold you back?
Sometimes if I know that I will not, this conversation is not about me, by the way. Okay. It's about you. Okay. But I'm just giving you an example, a real
Yeah,
example, by the way.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah.
But sometimes I feel that if I wouldn't be so perfectionist, I would do more. I would achieve more because I did more, not because I was a perfectionist. Because everything I do, you know me, Terry, everything I do need to be pixel perfect. For example, I went to our website a couple of days ago when I texted you because the button wasn't aligned. And it was
Okay.
a 5 pixels issue, Terry.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
fixed it. And then I saw what I texted you about, right?
Uh,
But that's the reason I went to check how the website looks like. So if I want to change it and I give you 5 minutes to shift something and to make me realize that you're the right person that I need to talk with about it, what would you do? What would you try to fix or to show me?
So I wouldn't try to fix anything because I don't think anyone needs to be fixed.
That's a good observation.
But what I would do,
Unlock something that you'll try to unlock. That's the word that I used
yeah.
earlier.
So just what I started there with some very specific questioning. The type of questions that I ask are designed to start unraveling the problem. So I'd continue down that same line of questioning that I started with. If I only had 5 minutes, I would do that. I would probably use from NLP some sleight of mouth techniques, which are very specific linguistic patterns that help to reframe a person's beliefs very, very quickly. So I'd probably do that. Yeah, for 5 minutes, that's where I'd start.
Sounds about right. And if I continue in your business journey, in your professional journey, um, I didn't want to ask you that because I wasn't sure that you are ready for it, but I think that you are.
Okay.
And don't try to edit it afterwards. Is there something, Terry, that is there something that you used to teach or believe or coach people with that now you see differently? Now you think it's different.
Yeah. So I used to teach, so based on the NLP model, I used to teach that ADHD is not real, that it's just a collection of behaviors that a person may have that no longer work for them, and that a person could learn how to behave differently. My beliefs about that have changed dramatically. So I no longer believe that it's just a series of behaviors that don't produce a desired result. And I've gone up against people in the NLP world challenging those beliefs as well. What I believe now is that we have different types of brains, just like we have different blood types, we have different brain types, and different brain types function best in different environments. I do believe, though, that someone with ADHD can learn and adopt different behaviors that are going to help them and make life a lot easier for them. But I no longer believe that it's not a real condition.
Okay. That's actually I need to think about what you just said because it's so true.
Yeah.
Can you change the subject?
Yeah, of course.
So I want to talk about your coaching,
Okay.
Terry, about reframing. You are the person, you are the kind of person that who frames everything for other people. When was the last time that somebody reframed something for you and you said, that's it? And what was it if you want to share?
Oh, man, it's a tough one. I can't think of the last time someone reframed something for me, but I feel like it was probably you while we were working together.
It was a long time ago then.
Yeah. But I think it was probably during our time working together. I can't remember specifically what it was, but I know there was more than one occasion where you reframed something and it made me see it differently.
Okay.
Yes.
So okay, so my next question is about performance, okay? Because you're all around performance. In business, we measure performance in certain ways. In coaching, it is different, right? It is more subtle. How do you measure if somebody actually makes a progress? If somebody is truly growing?
Yeah, great question. So it's really subjective. It's based on the client. So are they seeing changes and transformation? But the biggest marker for me is something that I ask my clients in very early on in the process is how will you know when the process is complete or how will you know when this problem is gone? And whatever they tell me is part of their evidence procedure. That's an NLP term. So if they say, I'll know the problem's gone when I can stand on stage confidently and speak without feeling shaky, without feeling like I'm going to faint, that's how I'll know it's gone. So that becomes the marker. And that's when you
Okay.
know the problem's gone, is when they're able to do it.
Okay. Last question, Terry. Let's say tomorrow you had to start from scratch, everything from scratch. No followers, Terry. No good mornings. Nobody knows who Teri Holland is. No certifications. What would you focus on?
Probably finding a job.
What would you build first? Let's say that you're trying to build the same business that you have. What would be your first focus?
That's so hard to say. Good question, but just let me think for a moment. If I were starting again, no followers, no certifications, and build the same business. Well, part of me wants to say I would start with the training. I would go learn the skills because as much as I see in the coaching industry, so many uncertified, unqualified coaches, and it's not a regulated industry by any means. I'm a firm believer that you need to have skills and tools to be able to coach someone effectively, that you shouldn't
Uh-huh.
just be coaching from your own life experience. That's not coaching. And so on one hand, I think that's where I would start is looking for, okay, what do I need to learn and where can I go learn these skills? Um, that's probably the first thing, but that wouldn't help me build the business. If I was thinking about exactly like how to build the business, the first thing I think I would do is start building an audience, whether that's through the podcast or through social media, but I think I would start building an audience of followers and then start testing an offer and seeing what people are interested in, what might sell to this audience.
You know, I didn't think, I mean, I didn't prepare myself for your answer. I didn't know what you're going to say. And I must say that your answer is so inspiring because what you just said is I'm not going to tell people what they need. I don't know what people need. First of all, I'll ask them what they need. Then I will see how I can deliver that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. That's
shows so many things
cool.
about your entrepreneurial skills, about your approach to your clients. I really liked that answer.
Thank
I really
you.
liked it.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
So are you ready, Terry, for
All right.
your rapid question? What do you want me to ask first? The question from Amy or the rapid
Whatever,
question?
whatever. It's your interview. You do what you want.
But you're editing it, so so let's start with the question from Amy. So Amy, who you interviewed last week. I also know Amy, by the way. She's a very talented graphic designer. So she asked if you knew the impact that print would have on your business, why don't you use it?
Yeah. So this is a great question for me to answer because I really avoided using print. I believed print was dead until Amy made me these beautiful business cards that I was really excited to start sharing. And I saw the impact that they were having when people would take that card.
They are beautiful.
They're beautiful. I think for me, like something I've been wanting to do, tested it out a few times, but I haven't been consistent, is sending thank you cards to people, like a handwritten card. And because I think that would have such a great impact. I know it did when I did send them out for my podcast. Just the way I was doing it was not sustainable. I was customizing the cover of the card with a photo, a still shot of the interview, and that would just take too long to have enough of them to just justify a custom order and then send them all out. That it would take too long. So I've been stalling on it, thinking of how I can make it still that personalized, which is why I haven't done it yet. But I think I've come up with a solution. So that would be the thing that I would do next is start sending thank you cards and birthday cards. I always ask my clients for their birth date because I want to send birthday cards and I haven't organized myself to do it. But I think how special would that be if you got a card in the mail from someone who maybe worked with me years ago and they get a birthday card just acknowledging their birthday? I think that's pretty special. So
It is
that's
special.
how I would use print and how I'm planning on using it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So rapid questions.
All right.
So Terry, I didn't tell you that, but I prepared different rapid questions for you
You were gonna do this. I had a feeling.
because you know what are the questions are, right? What the questions
I
are. So
know, I know.
it doesn't
Okay,
make
so
any
you ask
sense, Terry.
it's fine. Okay, you ask me yours. They're gonna be hard, I know it.
Okay. Okay. If you want, I can ask you yours afterwards if you
No, no,
prepared
no.
something. But
Ask me yours.
okay, Terry, favorite TV series?
My goodness. I struggle to come up with favorites of things because I have so many. But if I were to pick the TV series that I watch the most, like a show that I'll watch on repeat over and over again, then I would say Big Bang Theory.
One thing that you really like that someone is doing?
Like how so? Like anything that I like that someone's doing?
Anything?
Anything? I really like Amy Porterfield's social media. I love how she does her reels and her video content. I think it's so spot on. I'm gonna go with
Okay.
that. Yeah.
So now one of your rapid questions. What inspires you?
My clients.
How come?
Watching their transformation and their willingness to be open and vulnerable and the changes they make. That's what inspires me.
What you wouldn't take to a deserted island?
What I wouldn't take my dogs. And that sounds backwards because most people would say they'd want their dogs there. But I
And I know
think
how much you love
oh,
your
I
dogs.
love my dogs, but I think I think they'd be much happier here. Like, their normal life. But also, if I was on a deserted island and I had my dogs with me, I think they would stress me out because I'd be so worried about them and making sure they had enough to eat and taking care of them that I think it would impede the process of getting off the island.
Okay.
Yeah, I would rather they were here with like family, being taken care of, living their very bougie doggy lives.
It's amazing to me that you answered that question like that because it shows. I mean, you know what it shows, right? It shows that you think about others before you think about yourself. Because if, for you, it's better that your dogs would be there, right? But for
Yeah,
them, it wouldn't be so good. So we'll skip the karaoke song. You can say what is your favorite karaoke song if you want.
I will. I will, because I
Please
love this
do.
question. Total Eclipse of the Heart, Bonnie Tyler.
Okay. Remind me to step out of the room when you do that.
What?
Yeah, I
Is
don't
it
like the
because you
song.
don't like the song or you don't think I can sing?
No, no, I don't like the song. I'm sure you can sing, but I don't like the song.
What? How do you not like that song? It's so good.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, friends off.
If I ask you to cook dinner for someone, a celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you cook?
Man, I I would pick no one. I don't want to cook anyone dinner.
So let's say that you have to cook
Have to?
for a celebrity, dead or alive.
So I would choose Steve Jobs because I think he'd be fascinating to have a conversation with and I could learn a lot from him. Actually, no, you know what? No, I'm changing my answer. I always say Steve Jobs when I'm asked questions like this, but I'm going to change it today. I'm going to pick Frank Kern, who is, in my mind, the best marketer, the best copywriter of our time, because I could learn a lot from him today about what works and what doesn't work. And I think he'd be a lot of fun to have over for dinner. And what I would cook for him, I think I've never made this in my life, but I think Frank is like a like a fried chicken kinda guy. He would like some fried chicken, so I'd probably figure out how to make some fried chicken, but I don't know. I've also heard he's been doing some healthy things lately, so maybe he wouldn't be into that right now, but I think I'd figure out how to make fried chicken. Maybe in the air fryer, cut down some of the fat for him, I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
That's it for today, Terry.
That's it?
You're
Okay, I've
done.
survived.
Hmm?
It's fun being on this side.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Did you think they will ask you something that I didn't ask? I mean, did you expect a question that I didn't ask?
No. No, I had no expectations. I had no idea what you were gonna ask.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than
But
Amy's question, I knew you'd ask Amy's.
yeah, and you knew that I'm going to change the rapid questions, right?
I knew that. I knew you would.
Yeah. That's why I asked you to write it down. Awesome, Terry. Thank you for
Yeah.
taking us into your world. For me, it was fascinating. I actually learned a few things about you.
Cool.
Yeah, and I hope that your audience will survive a 1 hour episode.
I'm sure they will. Let me ask you a question now.
Yeah,
What
sure.
was the most surprising part of our conversation for you?
What you said about your dog.
Really?
Yeah, because it showed me just so many things. I mean, the fact that you think about others before you think about yourself, that's inspiring, Terry. And that is, honestly, that's the reason. It's not that I'm trying to advertise you here or something, but that's the reason people should hire you.
Thank you.
And knowing you, you don't care about the optics of the processes making with people. You usually don't share it, by the way. You never share it, actually.
True.
But but I think that it says so much about you, or the fact that you're here to help people and your business growth is based on that and not the other way around. So shows so many good things.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Did you enjoy this episode? I hope you did. We had a lot of fun making it. And if you did enjoy this episode and you want more like this, then you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, share it with someone who you think might benefit from it. And if you're curious about how we can work together to make things happen in your life, in your business, then find me at teriholland.ca and book a discovery call with me so we can talk about your goals, what you want to achieve, and see if we're a good fit to work together. All right. Thank you for being here today, my friends. I will be back again next week. Bye for now.